It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show! Hey everybody, it's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey gang.
Les Webster.
Hello all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello everybody.
And notice that everybody's making a dramatic pause before they say hello.
I paused on purpose when they did.
She knows how to take a cue, damn it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's for editing reasons.
Well, I was going to edit that out, but not anymore. Jeez.
No, we need to leave that in too, and that's not going to be our title for this week.
Nope. Absolutely not.
So how are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Tired, but okay.
I'm here.
Hello, you.
Despite all the evidence to the
We
contrary.
always enjoy that.
And we're so glad you're here, Les.
Hope everybody's... Yes.
Feeling.
Yes, we are. I hope everybody out there is doing all right. So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Well, I feel a little bad about it, since I usually lead this off, but I got a big bag of nothing this week. This is one of those weeks where I kind of got forced to be a responsible adult. And so I didn't really...
Oh man, I hate
Seriously, so do I. And but yeah, it's just been a busy last few days. It's okay. It's all good. We're moving on. We're moving forward.
Alrighty.
Well, I did a little bit of reading. One of my friends started a group where for the New Year's, you have to read 4 issues a day or a trade. So I've been trying to keep up with that the best I can. So it's been really cool. I've dusted off some of my trades. We talked about Fairyland during the New Year, so that made me want to grab those out again. But so yeah, just catching up on the new stuff, really. I hadn't picked up my comics in a week, so I'll have more to talk about next week.
Yeah, Fairyland's a good start. Man, I'm jealous too. I wish I had time to do crap like that. I wish I could read a trade a day. I mean, yeah, I mean that's a lot.
Well,
of
I have to get it done in an hour. So
I wish I had an hour.
If I really like it, I don't get it done. We started watching that Happy. Man, you can totally tell Grant Morrison is all over that show. I mean, just in the very intro of the movie where he blew his head off. It was like, wow, this is so Grant Morrison. So I had to pull out some of that stuff and show my husband while I was like, this is so Grant Morrison. Because, of course, he didn't know, he doesn't read comics. But I really like that. Yeah, he's a dude. He's more Harley Davidson than Harley Quinn, So. But so he likes it though. So yeah, I've been reading a lot of Grant Morrison and trades.
Very cool.
I went to the movies last night and watched Bubba Ho-Tep.
Woo.
The theater was showing it in response to Elvis's birthday.
Oh, cool.
And once again, it was a lot of fun. It's just a good movie. There are flaws, but you get past it real quick.
Yep. I like that one. It's one of those that it's just out there enough that you can enjoy it without it being. And as long as you can accept the out there stuff, you're good, and you're gonna have a blast. If you can't accept some of the weirdness, then you're lost probably already.
Well, it is written by Joe R. Lansdale,
Yeah.
who is quite the novelist himself. But this one was definitely different even for him.
Yeah. And
but thoroughly enjoyable.
Right, and if you happen to be a Bruce Campbell fan, then that helps too.
Yes.
Don't forget Ozzie Davis.
When he was on camera the first time.
Yeah, and Ozzie Davis, I thought, put in a really good performance for that movie. I mean, especially given that he was part of what was out there about it and all of that. Oh man, it was great to see him do. I mean, he's doing his thing, but there's this, and I don't want to spoil it. That's the deal. That's why I'm talking around it so much. But there's the weirdness about his character, and then other than that, he's just perfectly normal, and it's just great.
Yeah. Well, for me, I was actually at the theaters with Les last night too. I wasn't there for Bubba Ho-Tep. I didn't stick around for that, but we did attend the monthly AGFA film, which we've talked about before on previous podcasts. And AGFA stands for American Genre Film Association. Yeah. And this is put on by Alamo Drafthouse. For those who are not familiar with all this, I'll go ahead and give you a little explanation. And what it is once a month, it's the first Monday of the month, right? It wasn't this time because it was literally the first. But right, Les? It's usually the first month.
Yeah.
For $5 for a ticket, which that goes toward the $5 goes toward your whatever food and beverage you might get. You reserve a seat, but you don't know what the movie is until just before the film starts. I can't remember his name right now. The host of this it comes out and kind of gives a little little history of the movie and all that, and then says, without further ado, here we go. And this month's film was
Shame of the Jungle.
Yeah, but I was going to say it was interesting, but I didn't really want to lie. Shame of the Jungle. And actually this was a French-Belgian animated movie from 1975, 76, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And it was originally a rated X film. And when it was brought here to America, it was heavily edited. It was actually rewritten by some members of the Saturday Night Live writing staff.
Oh wow!
And then voice cast, and you have Bill Murray, you have Brian Doyle Murray, you have John Belushi, Johnny Weissmuller Jr., and a few others doing the voices of the movie. And it was originally called Tarzoon: Shame of the Jungle. And the reason why they took the name off is because the Burroughs estate got involved and successfully sued the people who brought it to America. So much so that what they did was they went back to the vocal tracks, and every time the name was mentioned, with the exception of one or maybe two times, they reversed that little bit.
That piece of sound.
That piece of sound, so it didn't sound. Yeah.
Wow.
And they literally went back with pencils or whatever and blacked out whatever name that may be written in the film. I mean, there's just these black marks in some of the sequences. It just because you could tell like someone just scribbled because there were supposed to be signs, and it was like our hero and that kind of stuff. But it made absolutely no sense at all. It was not funny, although there was a woman behind and to the left of us who could not stop laughing.
Maybe y'all should have watched it high too.
Yeah, I guess so, or drunk, one or the other. But wow, I mean, yeah, because Les and I came out and we kind of talked a little bit about it. He says I didn't laugh at all, and I said I didn't either. There was a couple of them where I kind of smirked. Because, like, at the beginning, you kind of see, like, the globe, and then they kind of zoom in. Of course, this is supposed to be in Africa, but when you get closer, the Africa continent is kind of shaped like a nude woman, and keeps zooming in right between the legs. And they say the darkest part of the country is the push area.
Wow.
I'm like,
so much for subtle.
Yeah, it pretty much.
Threw that out the window.
And that's kind of some of the tamer stuff that happened in the movie, right, Les?
Yeah, and in fact, I'm still waiting to laugh the first time. It was horrendous.
It was bad. It was horrible.
And this coming from two guys who like bad movies.
Oh, I adore bad movies, but this was beyond belief.
Sorry, I missed it now.
No, you're not.
Not for watching the movie, just to watch you two look at it in disgust. That would have been funny.
I was about to say, if you really wanted to see the movie, it looks like it is available on the VHS.
Who has one of those players anymore? Sheesh.
Right.
I haven't had a VHS player in 20 years.
We were there with a mutual friend of ours. I think we mentioned him on the podcast before, Tom Branch. And I said, yeah, this doesn't look like one that would be ever restored and put in THX sound and all that kind of stuff. He says, no, I don't think so either. He said, that's probably the only remaining copy, and just let it die.
Maybe it'll catch fire or something.
There you go.
And if it was in the movie, it'd be a bushfire.
Wow.
Dang. That was pretty good.
Alrighty, on that note, I think we need to go ahead and move on. We're getting into this week's festivities. I want to take a couple moments and thank our sponsors for their support. The fine folks at Things from Another World. We appreciate them being a sponsor of the fellowship. I've talked before about their evergreen deals of 40% off on comics, statues, toys, and merchandise. Those are select items. 30% off select pre-order manga titles, and 50% off Nick and Dent comics. But for the month of January, they are running a special deal that changes every week. So you'll need to check out what's going on. Here's what you need to do. You need to go to our website, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, and click on our sponsors tab. And there's all the information that you need right there, and plus links that you can click on to take you there and take advantage of some of these deals. For this month, they are doing 30% off different items. Like I said, it changes each week. These are items that came out last year, so it's kind of it's a new year, so out with the old. So this goes through the 29th. So go ahead and check it out. Alrighty. For this week, wanted to do a little something fun. Not that we don't have fun every week, but wanted to go back and revisit something we've done a couple times last year. Those who are longtime listeners to the podcast, or maybe you just checked these particular episodes out recently, know that we did a casting call from the 1966 Adam West Batman TV series. And we liked it so much that we turned around and did one a few months later off the 77 Wonder Woman TV series. Well, we're at it again. So to yes, we are at it again. So to honor this year being the 80th anniversary of the first appearance of Superman, the first Superman comic, plus the 40th anniversary of the release of Superman the movie, which we will address both of those in future episodes. How's that for a tease? We decided to do a casting call for future other Christopher Reeve Superman films. And since now there's 4 of us here, we kind of kept the list kind of small, just only a couple heroes and a few villains, unless someone decided to add another character. I did not see anybody add anything, that's all right, not a problem. So we didn't really go over this before we started recording, so I don't.
It's more fun that way.
That's fine. Is there a particular direction y'all want to go with this? Y'all want to do the heroes then the villains, or do one hero and then a couple of villains and then the other hero and a couple of villains? How y'all want to do that? Or just let it go?
I would say do the villains first.
Alrighty.
Let's save the heroes for the end.
Okay, sounds good.
That's my vote.
So, alright, that's fine with me. So, who wants to go first and pick their first villain and their actor or actress? Don't everybody jump at once.
Oh, I'll go. God, just to get the ball rolling here. And I am going to start with Toyman.
Okay.
As I recall, you asked us to focus on the Winslow Shot version.
Yes.
And this, if I'm not mistaken, is one of my... Actually, I have a couple of minor cheats. And I'll kind of explain... They're actually similar, and I'll kind of explain them. But the idea I went with was to find people kind of in that time frame. I kind of looked between like 76 and 80.
Yeah, which was what the intent, yes.
Right. And so I'm just explaining it again for the people
I understand.
Home. Right.
That's fine.
And so my cheat on this one was that I actually, well, I'll just say, the person I picked to play the Winslow Shot version of Toyman was Bud Cort.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Now,
Good fit.
Now my cheat is that he actually voiced him several years back in one of I want to say the Superman animated series or something. One of those. He actually did the voice for him. So that was kind of what planted the idea in my head. But I was like, oh my God, in 1978 or so, he would have been the right age to be perfect for that role.
Right.
Just appearance-wise, I mean, the voice, I can totally hear it in his voice. And he would just have been perfect.
Yep. That's a great choice.
He's just kind of the quiet and menacing type.
Okay. Yeah, that works for me.
Me too.
Yep.
Who'd you guys pick for that one?
I don't want to say now. I picked because I kind of went with the more ha-ha kind of thing, and I went with Dom DeLuise. Just because he was kind of dumpy, and I hate to say dumpy, but
no,
okay.
I like it.
But had the comedy aspect to him too, and
right. And part of Dom DeLuise's comedy is that completely over the top dramatic thing. that completely melodramatic thing. He just, oh, and it's yeah. I mean, I can see that.
Yeah, good too.
Totally.
I think it's a good fit too.
That's a good choice. I guess I'll go since it was funny after I had put together this list, and this was a while back. I happened to be watching TV, and I was like, "Oh my God!" It really fits because when I saw him, he's in a suit and all that, and it was right at the time frame that we were shooting for and all that, and it kind of worked because he was a name back then, and the person I went with was Paul Williams.
I thought about him. I actually thought about him for a bit there.
Because I was watching Smokey and the Bandit, and I saw him in the suit, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you give him a little bit of a haircut, take the hat off, and yeah, he can play a villainous to a point. Because I never really thought Toyman was really, really, really kind of a menacing villain, but he could have gone that way. But I thought that would be a good choice, and he was everywhere back then.
Yep. He was.
I was looking for a little more regal type of Toyman.
Okay.
I was looking at David Wayne, the man from Ellery Queen. He also was on Batman. Played one of the villains on Batman.
Yeah.
And he has a regalness to him. And other than if you're going comedy, then you're looking at Batman. If you're looking for a regal look, I think that he could have fit Toyman.
Yeah. David Wayne, who was the Mad Hatter.
On Batman. Okay.
Yeah.
I
can see that too.
Yep.
See, it's funny. I'm looking at this website. I'm looking at the picture of him. He's wearing a bow tie, and so I'm like, oh yeah, perfect.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
It's a little older shot of him, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing 2 or 3 of them with the bow ties, and I'm like, yeah, I could see that too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just give him a little bit more of a louder suit than he's actually wearing, then there you go.
Totally.
Yeah, that's a really good choice. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody did real well on that one.
Yep. Okay, does that mean I get to keep leading off, or does somebody else want to lead off?
Well, who would like to go first next, since Mike led off?
I'll try this one.
All right. Who you going to go with?
Brainiac.
All righty.
For Brainiac, I had 2 choices. One, mainly because of his voice, and the second, because he almost played Brainiac. The voice was Malachi Throne, another Batman villain. Played Two-Face.
You mean Falseface?
Falseface, thank you.
Which was basically Two-Face, yeah. Okay, yeah, that works.
And the other, because of his acting previously as a near robotic, was Leonard Nimoy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one. I like both of them. Really good choices.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And I gotta say, Malachi Throne, just to hear the name, I had no idea who you're talking about, but I see a picture of him, and I'm like, oh yeah, him.
Oh, he was everywhere.
Oh God, yeah, he was all over everything. So yeah, totally.
He was also on Star Trek, episode or 2 of Star Trek. He was Commodore Mendez.
He was Commodore Mendez.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that works real well. Both of them do. Alrighty, I'll go next. I had a couple of choices too. One of them I'm not as sold on as the other one, because we're looking at late 70s, early 80s. One of them I think one would really, really work. The other one, probably not as well known, but I liked him as a villain. So both of them have been villains before. So this is old hat to him. But the one I was not completely sold on is Stephen Burkoff. And of course, y'all may not know that name as the actor, but he was the villain, the main villain in the James Bond film Octopussy, as the Russian general, which I'm blanking on the name right now.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would have been an interesting choice. I've always liked that villain. I don't know why, but I did.
General Orlov.
Orlov, thank you.
Yeah.
So that was the one I knew I was, kind of out there a little bit. The other one is a little bit of a safer bet, but I love him. I love him so much. He's a really good actor, and he does a lot of villains, but he's done some heroic stuff too. But Rutger Hauer. This is around the time of Blade Runner and all that. So
yeah, I could see that. I can totally see that. Yeah, he's definitely got more of the look, I think.
yeah, he definitely does. Alrighty, who's next?
See, I kind of went more for look than, I guess, acting. Well,
Okay.
I think the
that's
person
okay.
I picked had a good actor.
That's fine. That's fine.
But Brainiac in 78 was a bald guy with these little things on his forehead, right?
Right.
So I picked a guy who was known for being bald during the 70s, so I went with Telly Savalas. Kojak.
And this,
That's
he's done some
interesting.
villains. That's a very interesting
That's
choice.
interesting. I like that.
I couldn't find the Mr. Clean guy, so he was my second choice.
There were probably other bald guys in the 70s, but yeah, okay.
Right.
But no, so to see Telly Savalas was a pretty good actor too. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I say pretty good. I mean I'm lowballing it a bit. He was a good actor for sure.
Yeah, because man, he was a really good Blofeld, and that was a nice villainous role.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. And I also actually not that long ago caught a skit he did on a rerun of the Carol Burnett show.
Okay.
So he could do comedy too.
Right.
Not that he necessarily would have to as Brainiac, but I'm just it's one of those things I look at for
True.
to gauge acting skill. So
Yeah.
he could do it. He had range.
Yes.
But
Yes, because he was also a villain in The Dirty Dozen.
Mhm.
So he could do comedy because he was, what was the Clint Eastwood movie, the World War II movie?
Kelly's Heroes.
Yeah, Kelly's Heroes.
Yep, he was good in that one too.
Mm.
Alrighty, that's a really good choice. I like that one. Okay, Mikey.
Yeah, you'll like my choice too.
Okay.
Because you're a fan of his. This was actually my other cheat. This was, and I admit, I mean, my cheats are consistent. I picked someone who played him later in an animated version, who did the voiceover for him in a later animated version. But he actually would have been kind of the right. I think the look works. And back in the late 70s, he would have been. I mean, he would have been young, but he would have been a good age for it. Lance Henriksen.
Ooh, I forgot about him doing the voice. Yeah.
He did the voice. So that's kind of, I mean, I almost hear that in my head when I think about Brainiac. And he played androids before, for those of us who have seen Aliens.
Well, he was almost the first Terminator.
Right. That too.
Yep. That's a really good choice. I like that. I totally forgot about it. Wow. Okay.
Well, I mean, it was a weird coincidence. I had seen him listed as a voice actor for the character, and I'm like, wait a minute. He played, I mean, Aliens was 84, 85, so I mean, it's maybe a stretch. He might have been pretty young for it in like the late 70s, but I was like, what the hell?
No, that works. Yeah.
That does. Yep.
Alrighty. Who's next?
Well, that was it for that character.
Right.
I know.
We need a new character and a new starter.
Oh,
So Mr. Mc... I don't know how.
Yeah,
I won't
yeah,
even
that
be able
guy.
to pronounce that last name.
Mixes Pitlick.
Yep.
There you go.
I went with, once again, Funny. And I almost picked Danny DeVito because, but since he was cast later on in a Batman film, I didn't do that. And instead, I went with Robin Williams. He was a funny alien at that time, and I don't know. I think he could have been pretty good in that part.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, that's almost a no-brainer. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, totally.
Or Cheech Marin.
Especially, yeah, that's another good one. A little outside of his style at the time, but yeah.
Right.
I mean, but he proved later he could act, so why not?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good one.
I kind of went with acting chops on this one too, not so much the comedy, although he did do some comedy at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But my pick for this one was Tom Hulse.
Okay.
Who was
Amadeus.
Yeah, he was kind of a wild and crazy Mozart in Amadeus.
Cool. That's an interesting choice. I like that.
And I mean, 78, Animal House came out in 78. He was in that.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was clearly of the right time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
For my choice, I think I was a little influenced by a choice Mike had made from one of our previous episodes. So I went with David Rappaport.
Oh yeah.
Of course, he would look right, but he had the acting chops. And for those who are not familiar with him, he was probably best known for being in Time Bandits as the leader of the group. I think that was your choice for Dr. Psycho, for the Wonder Woman, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, somehow that name just kept in the back of my mind. So when I put together this list, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to pick him, and because I think he would have done a really good job.
Oh yeah. Totally.
Yep.
All right, Les.
well, let's see. I was sad because my first choice was not alive at the time, and that was Michael Dunn. My second choice would be pretty outlandish, and that was Billy Barty. But what I finally zeroed in on was a man of a little more stature, yet pretty frantic himself, and that's David Johansen. I just think that after seeing his work in Scrooged, I thought, yeah, he could have pulled this off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that at first, but yeah.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
agree. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Buster.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, yeah.
Buster Poindexter. I like that. I like that choice. That's a good one.
Yep.
Nice.
It is. Yep.
Alrighty. Metallo is next on our villains list. And I'll go ahead and go first. I kind of went with the safe bet again, but I think he would have been awesome. I did a little bit of a cheat too, since Mike admits to being cheating a little bit. I went with Malcolm McDowell because he was the voice of Metallo on the animated series.
On the Batman animated series, yep.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
And it would
Malcolm
have been,
McDowell is like the perfect villain. He's always a villain, so I mean, it just.
Oh yeah, just go watch A Clockwork Orange, and you'll see that. And honestly, you'll see. I think that proves he could do that role for sure, and
Yep.
that's roughly the same time frame. That's early '80s.
Yeah.
I was looking at someone a little more rugged, somebody with the physical attributes of it. Believe it or not, Lee Majors.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Now, if I'm off base, let me know, please.
No.
Totally.
No.
I mean, honestly, he had experience playing a cyborg, for one thing.
True.
I mean, if I was going to say there'd be any downside there, it would be that he was really popular as the $6 Million Man, and that might sway things. That might
Sure.
people might have trouble distinguishing. But other than that, yeah, I mean, totally.
And he may have been afraid of typecasting too, because all of a sudden all he's doing is cyborgs. But yeah, I mean, it's a really good
they
choice.
got big in the 80s, so it was fun. I mean, they're B movies, but they got big in the 80s.
Well, I went with somebody who was also famous for playing a cyborg and was around in 78. I went with Schwarzenegger. He was beefy, he was buffed, he could act. Yep.
Nobody knew he could act at that point, but he did prove it later, granted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With
And I've done that before too with my picks. But yeah,
No, that's fine.
I think that's
Yeah,
a
Hercules in New York is no bar to judge by.
right.
Yeah, but still, right at town. The time frame we're kind of looking at. We're looking at the first Conan film
yeah.
True.
because that
He
was like
young
80.
and-
So
Yeah,
that would
Plus-
actually be
yeah. It's not
that
that
probably
far
would
off.
have. Yeah, that would have. Yeah, if they were going to go that route back then, that I'm sure they would have looked at him.
Yep. Or I thought another good one would have been Muhammad Ali, because at the time he was just entering into acting and stuff too, and I think he dabbled in a little bit of everything.
That would have been funny considering they did the whole Ali versus Superman a couple years earlier. The
Yeah.
treasure. That
Yeah.
would have been great.
That's
That
true,
would've been
yeah.
funny. That would have been cool.
That would have been great. Yeah, I love that.
If we, then I'm just thinking of this now off the top of my head. But if we want to kind of go that route, Jim Brown would have been an interesting choice too.
Oh yeah.
That was not who I wrote down here, but that would have been. He might actually be better than the choice I picked, because I kind of went with the beefy thought too, and so my brain kind of drifted to Sylvester Stallone,
Okay.
who
Yeah.
was fresh off the whole Rocky thing. So
I almost picked him for something else. I forgot what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean you had the
I
Rocky
think he could have done
films,
a comic movie.
and yeah, and just before Rambo and all that. So yeah, that would have been
Hmm.
it's the
that
right
would have
time
worked.
frame.
Yeah.
And you know, when I was looking at actors, I ran across an article for the casting of Superman 78, and he was considered for Superman. And so was Elton John.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Well, Paul Newman was too.
Yeah.
Was
So
this
it's
on
kinda
The
like,
Onion?
I'll pull it up and I'll send it to you guys. Like I said, some of their choices was kind of like, wow.
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so glad they didn't go that route.
Yeah, reading some of the choices. I mean, even reading some of the choices for like Star Wars. I mean, they actually were looking at Robert Englund for like Luke Skywalker.
Oh, wow.
It's interesting.
That is.
But not Elton
there's
John.
yeah, no. There's a video. I've watched one video. It's like I think it's on YouTube or I saw on Twitter. But there's a couple of not so much reading, but kind of just auditioning footage. And one of them is Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford, and they're obviously doing a scene from Star Wars. But the next bit is Mark Hamill and Kurt Russell. They were looking at Kurt Russell as Han Solo.
Oh yeah, I did hear that somewhere.
And it's now I'm going to be a little I might be a little bit biased here, but just seeing those two scenes and them saying the same dialogue, Russell didn't really kind of hit it as Han. I mean, I like Kurt. We're
Really?
fans of Kurt Russell, but I just it doesn't seem the way. Yeah.
That is not what I expected to hear right then.
No, I mean, I may be a little bit biased because I love, Harrison was awesome, but yeah, I'll see if I can find that video and send y'all a link. But yeah, it didn't, to me, it just didn't feel right. So I think they went with the right choice there. So,
They did too.
Cool.
alrighty, that is all the villains. So that leaves the heroes. Who wants to go first?
If I may,
Oh, okay.
Bring it.
I did have a couple of extra.
Okay, go right
villains.
ahead.
Oh,
Okay.
awesome.
All right.
I was looking at Terra Man,
Okay.
who was introduced in the 70s, I think.
Yes.
And because he was an ecological fighter, I went with Tim Robbins.
Okay.
That's
I
interesting.
looked at Bruno Mannheim, the mob boss, and kept seeing John Polito. That's the only thing that would come to my mind, that a guy who could act that way. Are you in the know of John Polito?
Name's not ringing a bell right
I
now.
don't know.
Let's see. I don't have anything pulled up. I'm sorry.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Oh,
yeah.
that guy.
Yes, that guy.
He was, was he
In
in?
the Big Lebowski.
Homicide,
Yeah.
Life on the Street, Crime Story. Yeah, Big Lebowski, Barton Fink.
He actually voiced Carmine Falcone in the Batman Arkham Underworld video game.
Oh, well, I'll be damned.
Huh.
Now, I do have a couple. The last two I have are kind of outlandish.
Uh-oh.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Ron
I
Perlman.
like outlandish.
Ron Perlman as Darkseid.
I could see that.
How is that outlandish?
Yeah, I could see that.
Oh my God, what have I done?
Uh,
And my last one is really far out there. Judy the Chimp, who played Mata Hari as Titano.
Why I'm not surprised that you would bring Titano into this.
Because he had to bring some Lancelot Link reference into this. That's why.
No, he's a big fan of Titano. So yeah, okay. I mean that works. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, if kind of want to go there, we could always bring in Sean Connery to play Bartox. Which if you've seen the character, it looks exactly like Sean Connery did in the Zardoz film. The famous film of him wearing a red diaper for most of it and knee-high boots.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
One he could really hang his hat on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh. So many jokes.
Yes, so many jokes.
So many jokes.
So little time.
So little taste.
Well, that too. Alrighty, so heroes. Who wants to go first?
All right, I'll go with Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Which really was kind of like, well, we know who would have been the perfect Wonder Woman in '78. She was already doing it.
Talk about your cheat pick, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't go that route because I knew you guys would say that. So I went with Connie Selica. At the time, she was doing the Greatest American Hero.
Yep.
But she had that dark hair and the chiseled features and beautiful eyes that I think, which is what made Linda Wonder Woman. But,
I totally forgot about her.
Very nice.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, I do too.
All right. So my pick for Wonder Woman.
Uh-huh.
And I was flipping around trying to find some stuff that came out in that time frame, and wasn't really having much luck finding anybody that I thought fit Wonder Woman. Until I started thinking about Bond movies. And the one I settled on was Lois Chiles.
Ooh, yep.
She was Dr. Holly Goodhead in Moonraker. And she may have been the only good thing about that movie. But she as far as I was concerned, she had the toughness. She didn't take any shit off of Roger Moore's Bond. She was smart. She knew her job. She knew what to do. She had the answers. And she was tall and very pretty. Not exactly the bright blue eyes thing, but they're greenish, if I remember correctly.
I have contacts.
That's right.
Part of makeup.
You could darken her hair a little bit, and honestly, you darken her hair a little bit, and it wouldn't matter. She could get by with the green eyes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I went.
Cool. Awesome choice.
That's a good choice.
Les?
That was a tough choice for me. I looked at which direction do you want to go? A little humor? Do you want to go with a exotic look? Or do you want the all-American girl? Because if you go exotic, just give it some thought. Sonia Braga, the woman from Kiss of the Spider Woman.
Okay.
Among other movies.
Mm-hmm.
She just had a Gal Gadot look to her. She was voluptuous. She played strong women in her movies.
She did.
But if you go to the funny side, and everybody understands that there are wigs out there, but PJ Souls, the only problem being she is not a tall person.
Right.
PJ Souls from Rock and Roll High School and the original Halloween, right?
Yeah.
And Stripes.
Yeah. And Stripes.
Mm-hmm. Who's your buddy? Who's your pal?
That's right.
And then just a pretty woman, and I was always in love with her on television, and that was Anne Gillian.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought she was an extremely pretty woman, still is. But I thought that in this, I think she could have pulled the role.
Yep. Good choices. Yeah, I went with Linda, but I also had another choice. But I mean, Linda was perfect. She still is.
She is. Yep. That's why most people don't like the new one.
Well,
that's part of why. But
yeah. Yeah.
My other choice, and I think she could have done a good job. Caroline Munro.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought about her for a couple of minutes there. Mainly because, like I said, my brain ended up going to the Bond girls.
Right.
So she was in The Spy Who Loved Me.
The Spy Who Loved Me, yes.
She died horribly in that movie, but yeah.
Kind of.
She did some Hammer movies, so she died horribly in a lot of movies, but
yes.
Yeah, she was always Dracula's woman. So she was going to die one way or the other.
Yeah, she was either a sacrifice or a flunky or something.
Yep.
But yeah, I can see it. She's got the look.
Yep, she definitely had the look.
Yep, she does.
I do like your choice there.
This is going to be interesting. So this next one's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it is.
You
want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
It doesn't matter. I mean, I can go first if you like.
I'll go first because I have a kind of an off-the-wall choice.
Mine could be a little off the wall too, but go
I
ahead.
have
I'm
mine.
going to laugh so hard if we pick the same guy for this.
Okay.
So we're
Go
going
ahead.
with Batman, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
And I have to admit, I didn't think very long about this. For some reason, he just kind of popped into my head in that time frame. I'm not entirely sure why. Looking back at it, I'm not sure what I was smoking, but I have to admit, I picked Christopher Walken for this.
Interesting.
Maybe my brain was still on Bond. I don't know. But there was, I mean, he was doing some pretty interesting stuff in that time period, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Batman would have been that big a stretch. I think he had.
It was so early in his career that, yeah.
I think he could do the kind of the dual personality thing that you almost have to do for Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, because I mean, he could go from the calm and cool to the violent, just in the drop of a hat. And I think that may have been what sort of triggered it in my head. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
so yeah, Walken.
Yeah, because I had actually thought about him, actually, and I will admit where this came from. I had kind of went back to the whole Superman documentary. I thought about him for Brainiac. And the time frame we're looking at is right around where he did Dead Zone. So it was so early in his career that he could have done whatever he wanted, and it probably wouldn't have been an issue.
Right.
But yeah, I like that choice. That's a very interesting choice.
Yeah. I was lost on Batman, I'll be honest. And then I got, once again, I was looking at the actors of that time, and I thought Eastwood would be pretty cool because I would die to hear Batman say, "'Cause dying ain't much of a living, is it, boy?" But I didn't go with Eastwood. Instead, I went Michael Landon. Papa Ingalls could pop off at a hat, but yet he was calm and preserved with his family, and he was very family-oriented. He always wanted a Robin and never had him. So, yeah. Plus,
That's
he had
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I actually would have put him as being a bit old for that role, but that's just me.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to say he couldn't do it. But
Yeah.
Right.
But he would have been too busy with Little House on the Prairie at that time.
Mm. All right, Les, what you got?
might have been a nice change of pace for him,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but-
true.
to be honest.
Probably.
Sorry, Les, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I want to get out of Idaho or wherever the hell they were, too.
Right. I don't want to live in a little house on the prairie. I want a big mansion in Gotham.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
For my Batman, I went back to television and chose Bruce Boxleitner.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
I like that one a lot. That's an awesome choice.
I just thought he had that suave look on his television. He could do this also.
Yeah, we're talking. I mean, this was about the time Tron came out, so yeah, he would have. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, and the
That w-
voice.
yeah, and the
That
voice would
would've
work
been
too.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I like.
Okay, for my choice, I really wanted to find someone who could really pull off the look of Bruce, but could also bring the intensity of Batman. And some of this you don't see until later on in his career, but I think at this point, during this time period, he's in his early to mid 30s, but I think he could have done a really, really good job. And I went with Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
I think he would have done a really good Bruce Wayne. He could do the whole dress up and kind of be the gentleman, but we later see some of him kind of do the action stuff, and we're just a few years from Romancing the Stone and that kind of stuff. So
I could see that one.
Oh yeah, he could definitely handle the acting part of it.
Yep.
That would fit.
He's got that broody face like Batman has.
Yeah. He could turn his face sour and be just as broody as he wanted to be.
Yep.
It's a good choice.
I think we all did really well. There's some really interesting choices that I just love them all. Awesome job.
I had fun, especially because not only is it the actor, you had to go back and look because people like Brainiac have made a big appearance difference.
Well,
they had a few makeovers.
But ones like Brainiac and Metallo, you can cheat with makeup big time.
Yeah.
So those are easy, really, for my money.
But you have to pick a version.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
You got different versions that you like. Okay, so you want to. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with Liz here because, to me, I remember reading the Brainiac comic in which he first appeared, and he was the green-skinned guy with the little nodes on his head.
Yeah.
And that's what I know Brainiac as. Not a computer and not as an ooze, but this one character.
Yeah. And it was interesting to see the evolution of some of them too.
Yep. Well, cool. I hope y'all had fun doing this. I always do.
Good. I had a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Same here.
Well, good, because I've already got an idea for another one we'll do in a few months.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
And hopefully, if those of you listening out in the real world haven't thought of this yet, just slamming these names into Wikipedia as fast as you can, if you're not recognizing the names, can help. Because that's where you kind of get that picture when we're all sitting here going, oh, that guy. That's because one of us has typed into freaking Google or Wikipedia and go, oh, yeah, there's a picture. Okay, now I know who they're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
So that can help. Because damn if I'm going to link to all of these people in the show notes. That ain't happening.
You're right.
Sorry.
I don't blame you for that.
That'd take me a week.
And if you want to know about the villains, you can just go to, I think it's Foes of Superman or Villains of Superman, and there's a list. If you printed it out, it'd probably be 10 pages of characters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And honestly, all of the ones that we listed were also on Wikipedia. If you search for them there, good luck spelling Spitlick, but yeah.
Bless you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I hope everybody out there had fun listening to our picks, and we're always, if you have your own choices, hey, let us know. We would, maybe you might come up with an actor that we didn't think of, and so just share it with us. We'll be happy to take a look at that, and we'll throw all that up on a future episode. Just say, hey, that's a great idea. Didn't think about it.
You'll get a reaction out of us, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Alrighty. So with that, any final words before we take a quick break?
Nope, I think I'm good.
I'm okay.
I think those would have been some fun movies. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So.
Yeah.
With that, we'll take a quick break and come back with our weekly picks. And we're back. It's time for our weekly picks, and leading off is Mike.
Yep, I'm leading off, and my first title is an Image book, and it is called The Family Trade. This is issue 4 coming out this week. And this is an interesting little story. It is based on a young woman named Jessa, and she is a minor part of what is generally referred to as the family, which is I mean, I don't want to get too labely with this, but it's kind of a crime family, basically. Or at least it uses that sort of structure to it. And they're kind of running this city, or part of a city, which is referred to as the float because it's floating on water. And it's it's kind of a different type of story. So I don't want to go too spoilery either, but it's very cool. I highly recommend checking it out. Because no matter how I describe it, I'm not going to describe it well. It's just one of those stories that does that.
Cool.
It's been a good series so far. That was one of our number one picks, and we enjoyed that one real well. So it seems to be doing real well too. So
cool, good,
awesome. I am next, and for my first choice, I'm going with IDW, and it is Star Wars Adventures number 6, written by Delilah Dawson, and art by Derek Charm. And the reason why I picked this one is it's a one-shot that features a new character from the new latest movie. It's a one-shot starring Rose. This is a character who's been kind of controversial. It seems like you either love her or hate her, and I thought she was great in the film. So it's gonna be really cool for them to expand on her a little bit, and that's also the same week that the Forces of Destiny, another one shot of the Forces of Destiny, which also features Rose and her sister Paige. So you get double Rose this week.
Cool.
That is cool.
Yep.
Alrighty, Les.
My first pick comes from Dynamite Entertainment. It is the final chapter of The Spirit, the Corpse Makers. This is number 5, and this is, like I said, this is going to wrap the story. It's art and writing by Francesco Francavilla. So, yeah, get this, because he's been doing some spectacular work for it in both areas.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yep. I think we're supposed to be getting some more. Was it Black Scarab? Wasn't that his character for Dark Horse?
Black Beetle.
Black Beetle. I was close.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think we're going to be getting more of that here in the not too distant future.
I think I remember hearing that too. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his art, and he's a really good writer, and I'm glad he's doing so well. Matter of fact, there's going to be a collection coming out here in the not too distant future, or if it's not already, I may be wrong. So forgive me if it's already out. It's called Black Panther: The Man Without Fear, and this was during the time where this was a few years ago, where Marvel was taking characters and throwing them in other books. This was obviously a Daredevil book, but Daredevil was out of the picture at the time, so it was became a Black Panther. They kind of did the same thing with Hercules in a Hulk book, because all of a sudden the Incredible Hulk became Incredible Hercules. But back to my point, I picked up a few of the issues during this time, and this was my introduction to Francavilla's art. I had never seen it before, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is kind of interesting. It's definitely different," and enjoyed the hell out of it. So I'm glad all these years later he's doing well, if not better, and doing his own thing. And I love following him on Twitter because he's always doing just pieces. He's done some stuff for Mondo posters, and I highly recommend checking those out, because he did one for the for the Lugosi Dracula, and it's
yeah.
beautiful.
That was amazing.
Yes.
I remember seeing that.
So. Alrighty, Liz.
All right. My pick is a trade paperback coming out of IDW. It's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, with the illustrations are going to be done by Eric Powell on this one. It states that the material is as Twain intended it, so I guess we're going to get a really good classic piece of literature with some beautiful artwork, of course. It says it contains 21 special illustrations from Eric Powell, so should be a pretty good one.
Sweet.
Very cool.
To say the least, yes.
Yep. I think anytime they can take classic literature and put it in hands of maybe, I've read it, but lots of other people out there, they don't even know the story. A lot of Twain's work's been banned, so it should be a
There's
good
that.
one.
Yeah.
Which is sad because our kids kind of missed out on these really great pieces of literature, or they specialed it up for them,
Alrighty, Mikey.
I'm up again. Well, I actually have a trade here too this time. This is a Dark Horse book though, and the hardcover trade for Richard Corbin's Shadows on the Grave comes out this week. And this is a book we've talked about because I really, really enjoyed this, and it is essentially a kind of a throwback to his anthology days. And it's all his stuff. He's writing and drawing all of it. And this collects 8 issues that were released over the course of last year, basically. And there's a whole bunch of cool horror stuff and some interesting fantasy stuff and just the kind of thing you're accustomed to from Corbin, if you're familiar with Corbin. And if you're not, this would be a fantastic way to get into him.
And some incredible art. I love his style.
It even transferred well to the movies.
Yep.
Alrighty. For my second choice, I'm turning toward Comic Strive, and finally, the Red 10, issue 10, the final issue. This series has been going on for years. I like I told the guys before we started up the show. I know it's been at least a year since between 9 and 10, and for a refresher for y'all out there, the Red 10, the concept of Red 10 is if you're familiar with Agatha Christie's 10 Little Indians, or what was the other name? And then there were none, or some. I believe it was something like that. But it's the concept of these strangers meeting. I believe in the original story they were on an island, and slowly one by one was being murdered, and there was a poem next to the dead body. So think of that story, that story idea, and then the victims being a version of the Justice League. It's been really, really good, and I have some ideas on who is behind all of this, but we're finally get the answer, and I'm sure it's worth the wait.
I would hope so, because there has been plenty of wait.
There's been plenty of wait. Alrighty, Les.
My second choice is Image Comics book, The Further Adventures of Nick Wilson. This is a 5-issue series, and if I may, I'll read a part of this and let you see why I like this concept. Let's see. Nick Wilson has had superpowers and all the acclaim associated with them. When those powers vanished, so did his fame, sending him from national hero to late night punchline. I love this idea. When he decides, or when he gets some powers back, what is he to do? He's now 20 pounds heavier. He's kind of into what they call medicinal marijuana haze. So I want to see how this is handled. What happens to a superhero when the power is gone?
Interesting.
Cool. It is.
Yeah, I like the idea for this one. This should be an interesting series. Alrighty, Liz.
All right. Well, this week I picked another mini-series out of Zenescope. They're introducing Belle the Beast Hunter to us. It's 6 issues. I guess kind of give us an introduction before they start throwing her off in their other work. But she's supposed to fight the evilest of monsters. So I always like the way they take and twist these characters around. So it should be pretty interesting.
Yep.
Cool.
Very cool.
Yep.
Be cool to see how they handle her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been doing some interesting things with some of the classic characters. So it'll be kind of interesting to see where they go with this one.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
The beast, she's killing them now.
Yep. Exactly. And our honorable mention this week comes from Image Comics. It is Ice Cream Man #1. And the impression I've been given from the synopsis, it's an anthology book, kind of along the lines of, maybe like the Twilight Zone or that kind of thing, except for instead of the Ice Cream Man being a storyteller, he's a storyteller, but he also plays a part in the stories as well. So I kind of like the premise, and it should be a very intriguing series. And I'm definitely at least checking out the first issue.
Yep, totally.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any special mentions or shout outs this week?
Nothing springs to mind.
No.
Not from this corner.
Alrighty, we'll go ahead and get into our regular shout-outs then. First off, we want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music for our show. We appreciate their support. We highly recommend you check out their music. The best way to do that is there will be a link in our show notes, or you can also go to our website, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Click on our podcast link, and you can see information for the band. And they've got 2 EPs out. I think they're back together again and trying to do some new music. So definitely check that out. Thank
Awesome.
you guys. Yeah. Second of all, you find folks of Potter and Family on Twitter. We're spreading the word of the Fellowship. You should definitely check the guys out, the guys and girls. A lot of really good shows out there. All you got to do is go to Twitter and do a search, hashtag Potter and Family, and just scroll down and just to see what they may be offering. And hey, you never know, you might pick up about a dozen or so new shows in addition to ours, which would be awesome. So thank you guys for your support. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We appreciate your support in the past. We always value your feedback. If you have any comments, suggestions, complaints, questions, whatever, feel free to contact us. We're always open and always willing to listen to what you have to say. And there's several ways you can do that. Obviously, an email, and the email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Or you can go to the website, click on the About Us tab, and there's a contact form. You can go ahead and fill that out. We'll definitely get that. Or you can contact us through social media. We are on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. That's all one word. We're obviously on Twitter as well, at Fellowship Geeks. Feel free to follow us there on both social medias, and you can contact us through that way. We all have, well, most of us have our own personal Twitter account. Feel free to follow us if you'd like. Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at Newman_L, and that's NEUMANN_L. And I am at Tom TC Geek. Feel free to follow us, and thank you for your support there. And wherever you download and listen to our episodes, whether it's through iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and hopefully sometime soon, we're still waiting for a word. Hopefully we'll be on Spotify, because I know they're expanding their podcast selections. Please rate us through whatever system they have. And if you have a couple extra moments, a review would be awesome as well. Did I miss anything?
I think you got it.
Alrighty. Any final thoughts before we say goodnight?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
If you can come up with some ideas for the casting like we did, let us know. Other than that, thanks a lot.
Definitely. We would definitely be interested in checking out your ideas for cast members. And if there's another show or movie that you say, hey, wouldn't mind y'all trying to do a casting call for that, feel free to send us, shoot us a message or something, and let us know, and we may take that under advisement. Plus the fact we're still looking for questions. We're going to be doing a question and answer episode sometime soon. So if you have a question that you'd like for us to answer and discuss on a future episode, please send them our way, and we use them. We'll give you a shout out. And until next time, read more comics and support your local stores. We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,